Hey everyone, welcome back to the Videocast for the series we have every Sunday, or well, after every Sunday. I'm Austin Smith, and this is just me again, youth pastor. For those of you who hadn't joined in before, this is
I'm Pastor Jason here at Foundation, and every week we want to try to put out some content that builds on the message so that we can learn how to be doers of the word and not hearers only. Because God wants us to obey His word. That's at the heart of why He gave it, is so that we can apply it and live it out in the context of everyday life. But we have to dive a little deeper to do that, and that's what this video cast is for.
yeah, for sure. And we decided to stand up. We've sat down the last two, but we decided we needed to just get out of our comfort zone and stand up. So that's what we're doing today.
Yeah, we feel better about it too because after you eat lunch, you kind of get a little sluggish, and so standing up just makes you feel a little bit better.
For sure. And so before we dive in, I just want to ask you, how was your weekend?
The weekend was great. We had an amazing Sunday here at Foundation Church. God is just doing some supernatural things, and not only time with my family, but just seeing what God is doing, and that truly just encourages me and has blessed me. And so I've been excited about the weekend.
Yeah. I mean, my weekend was great. I didn't have Olive Garden this weekend, but it'll be okay.
Well, I didn't have my breadsticks either, so told you I was going to give you an update on that. So no breadsticks here, but they're coming, I promise.
Now, one thing I was excited about was starting this new Chapter 2 series.
Yes.
I think this series is going to be really practical for people. I think people are going to learn a lot from it, whether they just got saved or whether, you've maybe been in it for a while and just you don't know where to go next.
Well, sometimes I think for those who've been saved for a while, you kind of get lost. Life happens, difficulty happens. You kind of get lost in saying, really, what was next for me as a follower of Jesus Christ? And so this is a way to go back to the basics, but build on that so that you truly understand what the Christian life is all about. And for me, when I came to Christ, I didn't have somebody tell me my next steps. And so I had to kind of figure that on my own until eventually God sent somebody in my life. And so we just want to make sure you know what the Christian life is all about and have some principles around you to help point you in the right direction. So as we said Sunday, you can live a life of focus rather than regret.
No. Well, the title of the first message was Guardrail. Okay, when I think of a guardrail, I automatically think physical. I think of the big metal heap that keeps me from going over a cliff.
Yes.
But you came at it from a different angle. Okay,
Yes.
That angle you came from was more of a spiritual, mental type angle. Can you expand on that a little bit, kind of describe for those who maybe didn't get to listen?
Well, the physical guardrail is a great picture of what we hope the spiritual guardrail will accomplish.
Yeah.
It's to kind of protect you and prevent you from going off a dangerous cliff, whether it be making bad financial decisions or bad relationship decisions or moral decisions that would cause you to compromise the character of God and the life that you hope and desire to live. And so that guardrail is there to protect you. And really, we said Sunday that guardrail is your conviction. And so there's some conviction that you need to have now that you've surrendered your life to Christ, because now you've said, my life is about Jesus. I'm not living for myself. I'm not living for this world anymore. I'm going to be a follower of Jesus Christ. And so those guardrails keep you in check so that you can grow as a fully devoted follower of Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And so that may paint you a better picture of what a guardrail specifically he was teaching on. So that'll paint you a little bit better of a picture, and it definitely clears it up for me.
Yes.
So tackling these guardrails, the three you mentioned.
Yes.
Okay, the first one was, I will follow God no matter what I have to give up or refuse. Okay, so everyone just go ahead and ask yourself this question. Have you had to give something up, or have you had to refuse something to be able to follow God? Jason, can you give an example of maybe something you had to refuse and give up when you first got saved?
Absolutely. Well, everybody's story is going to be a little bit different. Some of you were raised in church. Others of you, maybe you're searching for a church. Some of you have come to Christ and you're learning what it means to follow the Lord and actually serve Him in the church. For me, I wasn't raised in church. And so my lifestyle, the things that I was involved in, there was a lot that I was learning I had to give up. The people that were in my life at that time were not good, solid examples of what it meant to follow Christ. And so I had to give up some relationships. I had to give up a relationship that I had with a girlfriend that I had. For me, I had to give up some other things, such as the lifestyle of alcohol. And and drugs. I had to give that up because now I was about being a follower of Jesus Christ. And that was so important for me, learning what it now meant to let go of those things and actually follow Christ with my life.
Yeah, that's for sure awesome. For me, I struggle with temptations.
Yes.
And this will come a part of it. Whenever we have to refuse those temptations, Jesus had to do that. And James 1 will tell us those temptations come from our own desires.
That's correct.
And whenever we can't keep our desires in check or even recognize what our own desires are, okay, you're asking yourself, what are your desires? What do you desire in your heart to be able to do?
Yes.
And if you're not setting up those guardrails, putting things in place to be able to control your desires, it's going to overtake you. No doubt about that.
Well, that's where, as we saw with Daniel, he resolved in his heart.
Yeah.
So he set up a guardrail that he didn't want to defile himself. So that's why he was able to refuse. He was able to turn down the king's delicacies, which were against the dietary laws of the Jewish customs. He was able to turn that down. And just as I said Sunday, it was more about who he was following and less about what he was giving up. But you still have to be willing to make this commitment. I will choose to follow Christ, even if I have to refuse things or give up things, because that's setting a barrier. That's a guardrail. It's a safe place where you can consciously, somewhere along the way, because you're going to have to, temptation's real, you're going to have to say no to something so that you can say yes to God.
Yeah, and saying yes to God means we have to worship Him, even when this is the second one. I will worship and follow God no matter how heated it gets.
That's right.
And by heat, it's not just physical heat. Obviously, it's physical things we struggle with.
That's correct.
Mental, spiritual. Okay. One of the things that I immediately think of, the analogy is putting fire to the pot. It starts boiling. Okay. You want to get away from it, but we can't do that with God. We have to constantly worship Him through it. That's what Joseph did.
Yes.
Joseph had a struggle. He struggled with someone else committing sin. Potiphar's wife was the one who committed the sin.
Yes.
But yet he still had to suffer for it. So even through that, God had a purpose. God had a plan for his life. But he had to be faithful through that. And I couldn't imagine where Joseph would have ended up if he didn't stay faithful.
That's right. Well, his faith was tested.
Yeah.
And so you're going to battle temptation. That's really what the first guardrail dealt with. But you're also going to battle test. And, after I came to Christ, there was a season of great excitement that was followed by a season of difficulty. And nobody really explained to me that now, as a follower of Jesus Christ, I wasn't no longer going along with the ways of the world. I knew my life was changed because my desires were changing. Yeah. My willingness to do things that was not there before was now evident because I was a new creation in Christ, like praying, reading God's word, or going to church. Those were things that were not there before. But shortly thereafter, I faced a season of great difficulty, some hardships as a follower of Jesus Christ. And we use the story of Daniel 3, where Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were challenged in their worship. So they had to learn in the midst of a very heated situation where they could have lost their life. They chose to be faithful to God. And so this is really asking the question, is there anything in life that will distract us from being faithful to the Lord? Is there a problem that you're facing right now that's hindering you from truly worshiping God and embracing His goodness, His faithfulness in your life so that you can stay focused? Because that's going to happen. Those seasons are going to come, but you don't want them to distract you. Let God use those circumstances to grow your faith, and let that testing of your faith be something that brings more maturity in your life instead of a distraction.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier, one thing you had to refuse or give up was relationships. And that speaks to your last point.
Yes.
Sometimes I will follow God even if I have to give up relationships was the final point and the final guardrail. Okay. For me, I had to do that.
Yes.
I had to give up friendships, give
Yes.
up relationships that did not allow me to follow God. It was even one thing me and one girlfriend I did have. We made an agreement. We were both fallen into temptation, so we had to back off from that.
Yes.
We had to end that. And so that was me putting up a guardrail and her also.
Yes.
And we were both able to grow closer to God because we put up that guardrail.
Yes. In the early days of becoming a follower of Jesus Christ, as well as, whether you've been a Christian for a while, you have to continue to remind yourself, what is this life really about?
Yeah.
It's about Jesus. It's about truly being a fully devoted follower of Jesus Christ. And you're going to battle distraction. You're going to battle temptation. You're going to battle sin. And so these guardrails, These are these convictions that you place in front of you so that you can stay focused. And, one thing that I said Sunday, I think it's worth repeating today is that, we oftentimes don't plan to fail. We don't plan to get in our car and have a wreck. But the problem is we don't oftentimes plan not to. And because of that, we often get in financial ruin, a relationship that we regret because we haven't put up some safeguards, some guardrails in our lives. And so we're just trying to encourage people in this what's next from chapter 2 of this story of our life. We're just trying to learn what it means to put up these guardrails so that we can stay focused on the Lord.
Yeah. And this is probably going to be released on Wednesday, but this weekend, hey, come for the second sermon. It's going to be awesome. We're going to talk about words.
Yes.
We're going to talk about what that means for our relationship, and again, continuing on those guardrails, building on it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the power of words because our words reveal so much about ourselves. As a matter of fact, you can just listen to yourself and start realizing where you are personally in your relationship with God and what you're struggling with in life. And so this is going to be a very practical, but it's going to penetrate the heart. But by the way, that's where God's looking already. And He wants to do a work in our hearts to change it so that we can be more like Jesus, which, by the way, is the greatest opportunity we have to grow to be like Christ.
Yeah. And I know personally, next time I go to Olive Garden, I'm going to put up that guardrail. It's only one basket this time, and it's 6 come in a basket. So maybe I can limit myself just to 1, and then maybe not get the 5 cheese marinara.
Sounds good. I may not join you on that guardrail, but I'll try.
All right. Thanks for joining. We'll see you Sunday.